In recognition of the service that so many Juniatians provide to the world around us, the Alumni Association added the William E. Swigart Jr. Alumni Humanitarian Award in 2001. This honor recognizes someone who, through vocation or avocation, has exercised significant leadership and through personal sacrifice has improved the lives of others. At this time, it's my pleasure to recognize Pat Swigart, who is in attendance today. Pat is the wife of the late William Swigart Jr., who was a member of the class of 1937 and a great supporter of Juniata. Pat has generously contributed to sponsor the Humanitarian Award each year in honor of her husband. Thank you for being with us again today, Pat. The recipient of the 2011 William E. Swigart Jr. Humanitarian Award is John Stauffer of the class of 1966. Kim Kitchen, Juniata College Executive Director of Development, will present the award. Kim and John, would you please come forward?
Well, I had the pleasure of first meeting John when he decided to donate a pool table to Juniata College that he had restored so it could benefit the students so they could come and socialize as they were playing pool. And at that point in time, John, I have to tell you, I never had any idea the meaning of restoration for you meant not only restoring pool tables, but an entire country. John Stauffer is a very loyal person at heart. He is not only a husband, father, and friend, but a teacher, a chemist, a billiard restorer, an activist, a volunteer, and a Juniatian who embodies the three tenets that make Juniata so special: service, community, and peacemaking. While Juniata, John realized the importance of service. He saw an article about the Peace Corps, and that led him to spending 2 years in Eritrea, formerly part of Ethiopia, where he taught science and a little English along the way to the children there. And at that point, I don't think he had any idea the impact that he was having on those young lives and how that would allow his future to really unfold. In 2002, many of the children who he had taught, now grown, some living in the U.S. and some still in Eritrea, they reached back to John because of the relationships that he had established more than 34 years prior. Based upon those conversations and hearing what was going on in Eritrea, John knew that he could not rest until he helped that horrible situation and tried to at least relieve it in some way. So he immediately went into action to create a very passionate community to support the freedom of Eritrea. Today, John coordinates with local residents, the U.S. Department of State, many human rights organizations, and members of the Eritrean opposition to bring peace to a country in unrest. Because of his peacemaking efforts, John is helping to restore the lives of Eritrean refugees. You only have to spend but a few minutes with John to experience his passion for helping others, whether it's restoring their pool tables or helping to restore their lives. Just yesterday, I asked Harold Angstad, who's been friends with him for many, many years, if he could describe John in one sentence, what would that sentence be? And he said to me, John is the most generous, great person who does not have a bad bone in his body, and I would wholeheartedly agree. John cares so deeply for others, and it's really evident in the work that he does each and every day, and it's proven in the lives that he has changed. And it is a great honor for me to read his citation. Whereas John G. Stauffer, a member of the class of 1966, has provided selfless service through and beyond his profession, and whereas after receiving a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry from Juniata, he joined the Peace Corps and taught science to Eritrean students from 1966 to 1968, becoming aware of the plight of Eritrea, which was then ruled by Ethiopia, and whereas he maintained his service on a global scale by focusing much of his 38-year career at Roman Haas in Philadelphia, PA, on marketing and educational outreach, traveling to such places as Brazil, Canada, China, England, Eritrea, France, and Mexico. And whereas, after reigniting with Berhane, a former student from Ethiopia, in 2002, he founded the America Team for Freedom for Eritrea, encouraging Eritrean opposition groups to unify their efforts, increasing the awareness of the Eritrean plight to U.S. audiences, and addressing the problem of the displacement of many thousands of Eritrean refugees. And whereas he steered the American team to make refugees their sole focus, which resulted in their incorporation as a nonprofit by both the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Internal Revenue Service. And whereas he helped to establish college scholarships for Eritrean refugees, and whereas he shared his experiences and expertise with Juniata students in 2009 by returning to campus to give a talk, among many of the same topic, entitled Eritrea, Hope for a Nation in Trouble. And whereas he authored a 95-page Tigrinya to English picture dictionary for new refugee immigrants in 2009, and wrote an article telling about his Eritrean journey in the Herald, a publication of the Ethiopia and Eritrea Returned Peace Corps volunteers in 2010. Now therefore, be it resolved by his humanitarian efforts exemplify a dedication to supporting the humanitarian needs of Eritrea and caring for the lives of others around the world. Be it further resolved that this award is presented to him in recognition of his lifetime achievements in humanitarian efforts. It is a complete privilege to present John G. Stauffer with the William E. Swigart, Jr. Humanitarian Award by direction of the Alumni Council.
Mrs. Swigart, administrators and staff, the Alumni Council, and other friends, I appreciate this honor to stand before you today. The path that has led me here indeed started here at Juniata College. When preparing to graduate in the spring of 1966, someone had gone to the trouble of posting a notice on a dorm bulletin board that applications were being taken at the Huntington Post Office to be considered for being a Peace Corps volunteer. I went to Peace Corps training in the spring and ended up teaching for 2 years in Eritrea, then a part of Ethiopia. I had a particularly good 14-year-old student named Berhane, whom I tutored. 35 years went by before I was reconnected with Berhane and invited him for a visit to the U.S. He spent a week here on campus working with Dr. Celia and the Peace and Conflict Department, as it was known then. It was then that I learned about what had befallen most of the people of Eritrea since independence from Ethiopia, a regime bent on cruelty and rapacity in order to stay in power. Much has been done by many to assist the condition of the hundreds of thousands that have fled the country over the past 20 years, but my role in this has been possible only through the support of my 3 colleagues that have made the trip here, Darlene, Berhane, now after all these years, and Tekla, the true champion of Eritrean refugees. Stand up. And encouragement from Juniatians such as Casey Shaw, Celia Cook-Huffman, and Dr. Keppel. So on behalf of these folks and for countless Eritrean refugees, I humbly accept this award, finally being able to graduate from Juniata College with distinction.